All right. Well, good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to Intercultural Spark. This is the show we have conversations with micro entrepreneurs who are sparking change in their corner of the world or maybe across the world with their mission driven businesses and life projects. So, I am your host, Deanna Shas, the founder of Intercultural Talk. And today I'm really excited. We are launching, it's a periodic series that we're going to do throughout 2022, which is speaking with people who are in the know about technology, about what kind of technology we actually might need for our businesses to try to grow them. So, or actually just to even survive in the technological world. So today I am thrilled to invite my longtime friend and a technologist before there were technologists. Not that he's old, but I'm saying like he's been doing technology like since he was born, I think. Thierry Hubert. Thierry is the chief technology officer at DigiMax Global, but also longtime owner of artificial intelligence company, and he is going to help us understand, I hope, like what we need to be doing and what all the terms are. And looking forward to this deep dive with Thierry. So, welcome to Intercultural Spark. Hi, Thierry. How are you? Welcome to the show.
Hey, Diana. Thank you. Well, thank you very much. I'm doing great.
Good. It's so funny. I realized in introducing you. So the problem with like introducing someone who's a
Mhm.
technologist
Right.
so the whole point is trying to understand what technology we need when it gets into the big deep stuff, really don't know all about it, which makes it really hard to introduce you because I feel like I'm just going, he's just really smart because I don't even think I
Kind.
understand like half the topics that you're working on. But
Mhm.
I'm glad that that's what we're going to work on today.
Happy to be with
So,
you.
uh, um, so actually, along those lines, what I wanted to do was to even play with some of the terminology because there's a lot of terms. You and I spoke yesterday, and there were terms that you used, and I was like, "You mean this?" Like things that lay people understand, but you've got tech terms for it.
Mhm.
The example I've given, I've got a few of them I want to ask you about. So, so for example, yesterday you said, and we're doing very important solutions for distributed workforce. Distributed workforce.
Mhm.
What is that? And do small businesses have them as well?
Well, let's do this question. So, distributed workforce is really teleworkers, people who work in a distributed manner, and very often in different time zones, right? And you don't have your eyes on them all the time. So sometimes you need technology to try to coordinate the work more than sometimes even having eyes. And now we have eyes on each other with teleconferencing tools like Zoom and whatnot. But it's a distributed workforce, and they come from many places, many cultures, and this is what's amazing about that concept and actually that reality. Today it is a reality,
Mhm.
and it's very important for businesses because it allows you to have on-demand services that normally you would have to hire people, for example. And if you hire people, then they're really core to the business that you have and to its long-term vision and mission. So it's really great for smaller business to have this distributed workforce, these people who can contribute and participate. And it's partly thanks to technology that we're able to be effective
Mhm.
in that new form of work
Mhm.
and
What I
interaction.
find what I do find fascinating is the whole idea though, and I'm smiling as I say it because I'm understanding both sides now. Because on the one hand, it's like, so you mean like remote workers, which
Yeah.
like everybody is remote now. But what makes a difference actually as small business people is I think sometimes we used to do it apologetically, like, oh, I don't really have staff over here. I've got someone over there. And now it's like, wait, I've got a distributed workforce,
Yes.
my virtual assistants in New Jersey. I've got, an intern in Evanston.
Yes.
So actually part of it is how to sound like
Uh-huh.
you're really cool and technologically adept, even when it's maybe something describing that you're already doing. Although I do understand where remote work doesn't get the same idea as distributed workforce because remote work is just where you're working.
Right. And it doesn't
Mhm.
matter anymore as we use more technologies, right? To work next to each other or apart from each other sometimes doesn't make a big difference. But I'll tell you, it does make a big difference when you have to be imaginative, when you have to
Hmm.
solve problem. I do like to have a face-to-face and a whiteboard.
Hmm.
And so sometimes you need that. You need that brainstormy type face-to-face contact. But remote working is really this. It's remote working, and it's a concept that you're transposing something that you would do in one place into another place.
Hmm.
And it is part of a distributed workforce. But the idea that the workforce, like your human capital,
Hmm.
can be distributed and in different degrees of involvement is fairly a new phenomenon. As a matter of fact, and I think I told you this, I'm one of the early people of groupware with Lotus Notes. Some of your viewers may remember Lotus Notes as a way to manage your task and your
I
communication.
was going to say, or something we didn't understand back in the day, because you realize,
Oh, it's
so
native now. Yeah,
I know.
exactly.
Well, because you and
Yeah.
I knew each other back in the
When I
day.
was at Lotus, yes, we
You
did.
were at Lotus. I was
Yes,
executive director of the Newbury Street League, and
yes,
my database system, because I
yes.
was young then, I pretty much had like the phone numbers for all 300 members of the Newbury Street League memorized.
Right,
And you were like, okay, I've got a better system. And you
right.
set up, it was so old that actually I think my database was on a floppy disk, literally.
Yeah, I think it was a D base. It was way in the early days. It was a D base was a Clipper program. I remember
Yeah.
that. Yeah, that was
Oh my
crazy.
gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
really doing this for a long time.
Mhm.
Well, you just answered a little bit because Brianna had asked, but I want to go into some more terms before that. And I think you did a little bit like, suggestions for effectively managing a distributed workforce.
Ah.
So, do you want to do that first? Because then I have more terms. We're going to spend
Oh,
the whole
yeah,
show
we
just
can go
doing
with more
terms.
terms and we can answer this one after, and perhaps it will answer some of your questions.
Okay. So some of the terms like natural language processing. So
Ah,
I shared with you that I had tried Jarvis.ai, which
yes,
does
yes,
it's artificial intelligence for writing.
yes,
And I think that you then said, oh, natural language processing. So
yes.
what does that term mean to you?
Yeah, so in the world of artificial intelligence, natural language processing is the ability for a computer to basically recognize the way we naturally write, basically
Okay.
syntax and whatnot, understand the semantic and understand structure of sentences. And a lot of programs are able to actually help you, assist you in the personality or the tone you're trying to project. Now, why is this important today more than ever? Even though we're seeing each other face to face right now,
Hmm.
and we communicate visually a lot, and we communicate a lot more visually when we're face to face in real
Hmm.
life.
Sure.
Written communication is essential, and it's not the personality that you have as an individual that matters. And as a matter of fact, we work on this at DigiMax. It's the personality that you project
Hmm.
based on the intent and context
Hmm.
of the
Well,
situation.
and it's also, for example, as a business owner, it's who your clients are. Because I know
Correct.
as a marketer, I've got clients, I've got a 93-year-old grandparent, I've got a retail person, I've got
Mm.
all kinds of things. And if I'm writing in their voice, you need to be able to do that.
And you got it right. And
Hmm.
so this is the whole point. You will write in a different style towards a different
Hmm.
audience, right? And so tools like when I like Grammarly. Okay, it's not only free, but it has
Hmm.
the ability to set the tone, the style of
Hmm.
writing. So as you write, it improves your spelling, but it also gives you the ability to have a
Hmm.
much more formal and formal voice. And
Hmm.
sometimes you need that because some people don't know
Hmm.
you, and you have to convey the right personality. And AI helps in that, and that's what
So
NLP helps with.
I'm shocked that you use Grammarly because I mistook Grammarly with the Grammar Lady. Remember the Grammar Lady where you
Yes,
would
of
just
course.
like, go to the website and be like, is it, which is it toward or towards? So Grammarly now is
Yes.
totally modern and also can help you with writing and tone and stuff like that.
Oh, absolutely. And what I
Mhm.
like about it particularly, and it's the same thing, is that you do it real time. So if you're using your browser, it has a plugin. So whatever you write on your browser is can be corrected and based on the style you've chosen, and it has its own ability to you enter the text. So sometimes you may have and it integrates also in words. So what I like it's ubiquitous access to different platforms. So it becomes very permanent. And present, and it's a really really useful tool. I realized that when our marketing people were using Grammarly and say, okay, so you guys are not all that great in English. I realized that you're getting some training wheels
Mhm.
and perhaps a motorcycle, but bottom line is extremely effective.
Mhm.
And I think they will advance, and as AI continues to advance, you see, good AI is AI that you don't need to understand. You just need to experiment it.
Mhm. Well, I have a question actually, and Brianna, this question about how do you, does it completely eliminate the need for humans? I will tell you from my personal experience,
Mm.
is that I ended up stopping using Jarvis because no matter what I said, my audience was, here's what's so funny. It always
Mhm.
ended up sounding like a Valley girl. So not even like a millennial from today, but like what would have been considered a
Well,
millennial
guess who
from the
coded it,
80s.
right?
Yeah, it was always like, and this blog post, like, oh my God, you're really going to like it. And I was like, yeah, not
Ah,
so much.
well, you get a lot of that, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's actually understanding the trend, right? So,
Mhm,
it's really funny when you bring this up. Like for example, when you deal with social media,
mhm,
experts, and whatnot, they tell you, well, that you have to talk into a certain way to the audience. Well, believe me, it's a different way to talk to the audience on Twitter than it is on Reddit or
mhm,
whatnot. And sometimes it's just a question of you only know what you know, right? You don't know what you know.
mhm,
So if you're dealing with your generation, and people in our age group have a tendency to downplay our experience and surrender to younger generations communication style, when in fact it's
mhm.
maybe not the most effective in terms of returning
Mhm.
results and in
Well, the
terms of
other
the
thing along
approach.
those lines, it drives me crazy where I'll be talking to someone, they're like, "Oh, let me just get my teenager to do it." Because particularly when it has to do with strategy. Like just because someone can physically pick up a phone and intuitively know where the buttons are,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that you know how to effectively or strategically use those
No,
tools.
no, no,
Yeah,
absolutely not. No,
for
you're
sure.
correct. And that's often what happens.
Mhm,
I see a lot of people say, "Well, I asked my kid to do it because they're wizards." No,
mhm.
they're wizards. They're wizard at understanding the environment in which they are, which is like
Right.
pretty much your existential being. You're a wizard in practicing what you have, but it doesn't mean that you're reaching out
Mhm,
to the entire community. It doesn't mean that you have a connection with or it doesn't mean you have best practice. I'm sorry, but to be a techno user
mhm,
or an avid user of technology doesn't mean that you understand the first thing is to how it actually operates and how to improve it.
mhm.
So you're a consumer. You're not a creator,
Right. But
right?
that also seems to support the idea that ultimately, because that's always, people are like, oh no, technology is going to replace humans.
Uh,
It feels like, well, what do you, yeah, what do you think
Human
about that?
augmentation. So I talk about this
Wait,
a lot.
what was the term you
Human
used?
augmentation.
Human augmentation. Okay. So everyone, please note that because we're learning these terms. Human augmentation.
Augmentation, right?
Define it first. So when
So there's
humans
two
are
level.
augmented by tech.
Well, there's exactly, and there's multiple, and there's multiple ways we augment humans. So technology, and you've heard me say this
Right,
before.
and you're not talking about, like, I put on makeup before I got on the show, so I
I'm
feel
not
like
talking about that kind of augmentation.
I have a beautiful an enhanced facial rec
No, no, no.
presence.
Well, that's a form of augmentation, but that's not the one I'm referring to. As a matter of fact, there's a very interesting concept. Well, technology does only two things. I think you
Mhm,
wrote it in the quick bio. I strongly
mhm,
believe technology accelerates time and space. Actually, I don't believe it. That's what it does. It accelerates time and space.
mhm.
What happens when you accelerate time and space? You create ecosystem disruptions,
Okay, so that's one of
right?
my terms that I wanted to ask you
That's the
about,
one you
using
wanted
the
to.
term. Yeah, well, it's because ecosystems,
Mm,
people often think of that in nature, and you
yes.
used it particularly at your last business, Darwin.
Mhm.
So do define how you use the term
Right.
ecosystem
So
related technology.
ecosystem is a dynamic and organic environment in which multiple
Mhm,
entities interact. Okay.
mhm.
So when you take an evolutionary approach to life and you're confined by the limitation of laws of physics, right? You can imagine that an algae in Africa is not going on its
Okay.
own.
Does
What?
technology though, when you say you're confined by the law of physics, I get
Yes.
this idea that technology allows you not to be confined by the
Well,
law of
it
physics.
extends it. So what
Okay.
happens when you extend the laws of physics? So to give you a good point, you take a boat, 14th
Mhm,
century boat in England that goes
mhm.
to Africa. So
Okay.
the Thames River has its own flora. You go to Africa and you're going to get some algae on that boat, and you're
Mhm,
going to bring those algae into London, and you will
mhm.
destroy the fauna of London because that little microorganism, on its own limitation around the laws of physics and the constraint that it has in its environment, would never have achieved that travel, right, and disrupt a new
Oh my
environment.
god, so that would be like, well, in that case, it would be like fauna augmentation. So the
Yes,
augmentation was a ooh, wait, did I get it? Did I
you
get it?
did. You get it. But now extend
When it was
upon.
actually physically moved, but it
Yes.
okay,
And that's the
interesting.
problem we have because nature grows at its own speed. So only
Okay.
disruption And technology brings disruption. That's the biggest thing we have to really realize. Technology brings disruption because remember, I told you the definition of success is boredom for a lot of companies, right? So they don't necessarily welcome innovation and technology if everything is going well. Same thing with nature, right? You don't necessarily welcome technology, everything. As a matter of fact, you might favor a species that was basically dormant, and it moves on faster, like the cane toads in Australia when we try to solve the problem with sugar canes. So ecologically speaking, we know without an ounce of a doubt that our acceleration of time and space, making the space and time a lot shorter, allowing heterogeneous or non-familiar organism to interact, creates could be a catastrophic situation, just like COVID, for example.
Okay.
And so now let's look at it from the other perspective, information technology. Now, what you and I are saying is completely outside the realm of reality. It's a convention as humans that we agree, like money. Money doesn't exist in nature, right? All of these things are fabrication of the figment of our imaginations as humans in order to evolve, in order to interact, in order to do what we do best.
Okay. So in the world of like diversity, equity, inclusion, we call them social constructs. Like the whole idea of race,
Exactly.
it's a social construct.
It's a social construct. It means nothing. As a matter of
Yeah.
fact, if the change you accept is the change you don't notice, I am French. I can tell you that being French doesn't mean I'm French 100%. I've got some barbaric ancestry that comes from the Numidic countries, from the Celtic countries, from the Teutons in Germany. Who knows? The reality is that I am what I am today because, and I think that I am like everybody else around me today. Why? Well, because there's been a lot of change that we haven't noticed, but we change, right? And that's what happens about the human psyche, is that we have a very ephemeral mindset. But when we are exposed to something we don't know, the first reaction is fear.
No, actually, I'm realizing that the first reaction, here's a tip for business owners. When someone starts going, you don't understand what they're saying, I just ask a new question is actually my first reaction.
Well,
I'm like,
because you're smart.
You've lost me. Here's my next question.
Yeah, but that's the thing. So some people who don't feel fearful. So how many ties do you have to your society that actually, if they were broken, you would feel insecure? So is your religion one of them? Is your finance another one? So a change, something that comes in, can threaten the mechanism by which you have a sense of comfort.
Well, you just actually described the entire thing that's happening because of the pandemic, because most people have lost all of those connections. You can't go to church. You can't, I mean.
So that's why they try to regroup in other ways. The sense of belonging is important. So when technology, right, is introduced in the information age, and if I were, and this is what happened, a lot of people will say in Iran, and I had an opportunity to talk to a very, very, very high-profile individual around this particular topic when we were talking about the disruption of technology and culture. Well, imagine you're in Iran and you have a theocracy, and the theocracy has been basically moving towards more a Western world sets of values. And now we're bringing into this more welcoming country, which was Iran at the time, 60s, 70s, a more welcoming view of the Western world. But those were colliding with basically the religious views and the way they have control mechanism around women, around economics and whatnot, right? So what happens? So the moment you have that collision, and you're seeing, American show with women in bikinis and things like this. And then some people like it. Some other people who used to have power for thousands of years or hundreds of years are saying no. So they demonize and they start to regroup and create a narrative to reject. The rejection.
Oh, interesting. So it's actually the whole thing is because it's fear driven based on these new things that you're seeing.
Completely, because it threatens your fabric.
And technology, though, especially now with actually I have two other questions related to this, but technology now can accelerate that because you can see those images.
It
so
accelerates,
readily.
and therefore you become more fearful. The anxiety the world is experiencing today also has to do with the fact that we have access to more diverse information and information that basically is sensational. So we have sometimes a sense that everything is going to hell, when perhaps it's only because we are more exposed to things that go wrong through our communication
Sure.
technologies, right?
All right. Another reason that we think things are going to hell, though, is because of people in technology using terms like human capital and increasing productivity with
Yes.
technology.
Yep.
Because of two things. One, human capital makes it sound so impersonal. Again, when you look at
Mhm.
diversity, equity, and inclusion, it's all about how do we recognize the individual and
Mhm.
really going to the person side, whereas capital sounds like so
Mhm.
abstract. But on this productivity thing, and this is
Mhm.
why I'm so fascinated in talking with you, it feels like because so much innovation is driven by big businesses who have the money to be able to do the research, that they're looking at how they can squeeze more productivity out of their workers. And that's where I
Ah,
immediately want to be resistant to productivity, because it's like, God, do you want just like our blood, our firstborn? But
no.
how do you use that? Because I think there's
There's a
systems that even
guilt,
small businesses can use to be more
right?
productive
So
without 24-hour work in.
well, that's the problem we have. We seem to fill the void. So if we're looking at
Mhm.
gaining productivity, first of all, human industrialization and human growth is based on productivity gain, period. Right? The question is that we didn't decide to
Wait,
stop,
right, but I don't like it. Go ahead.
but it is. It is. All we do is gaining productivity. So
Mhm.
in a way, we choose that growth is the paradigm that creates a stable environment for humanity, not
Wait,
sustainability.
say that again. Growth is the
Growth is the
paradigm.
paradigm, the preferred paradigm for the continuation of humanity. We
Okay, I
believe
would
that
agree. I
growing,
understand what you're saying. That
right?
is totally our psyche, or at least
It's
US
our psyche.
American or Western. You always have to be innovating and growing, or it's better.
Otherwise, why?
Yeah.
Because we have a
Mhm,
market economy that unless you make a
mhm,
profit, you're not creating wealth,
mhm. But
right?
see, I think that's part of the point of helping so micro businesses are people that have like less than 10 employees. They are
Yes.
making livings, they're supporting their families. And
Mhm.
so that's where the question is, with all this,
Mhm.
productivity of humanity and society and innovation, where's that line where a small business owner really needs to know what's coming, or else they're going to be completely
Oh,
obsolete?
it's to listen. It's to put. Okay, so you have to put smart technology. So there's technology that make us dumb, and technology that make us smart.
Oh, okay. So start by using the technology that makes you smart.
That's right.
That sounds good.
Blind automation will make you dumb, and blind automation will not see a problem occur, and you'll
What did you say?
repeat the
Blight automation?
blind, blind,
Blind
blind.
automation. Okay.
Blind automation will make you dumb. That's
And
what
blind
happened
automation just for the heck of it, or what
for the
is
for the sake of productivity.
okay.
So I'll give you an example. What happened
Oh.
in the housing crash in 2008?
Mhm.
There was a dumb automation around giving loans to people, around the greed factor. They thought they just basically automated the stupidity to the point where when it happened, they didn't have a way to correct because it was a machine that was in place, right?
Wait, I'm sorry,
The
which
crash,
was
the housing, the housing crash of 2008. So
okay.
so dumb automation or dumb paradigms, right, is really the
Mhm.
enemy of sustainability, and it is the friend of comfort. You see, dumb automation is the friend of comfort. So
Dumb
people
innovation. So you've got
dumb automation, dumb
okay.
automation.
Okay, so you've got blind innovation and dumb automation. So blind innovation, innovating just
No,
for the
no,
heck of it.
innovate for the sake of innovating is meaningless. You,
Okay.
you you have to be connected to your customers. You
Okay.
have to be connected to your audience.
Which is what I
How
always say
small
is
as it might be.
strategy comes first. You always
Yes,
have to have your strategy first, and then do the tools support what you
and do it right. And when you have attrition in your
mhm,
value proposition, now you start to innovate. But you need to
mhm,
measure the signal. So technology is there.
mhm.
And this is why I think big corporation, you think, oh, they have all the tools to do everything. No, they don't. They don't necessarily use them effectively, and they're sinking into procedure. I think small businesses are a lot more agile.
Ooh.
Oh,
Oh, you're right. Because the
they are.
decision maker, I mean, the decision, sometimes it's like, "Oh, yeah, I guess that is my decision." Um,
Yeah.
Terry, finish this thought. I can't believe it. I'm almost done with the first question on terms, and it's already time for the flash photo stories. Finish your thought, and we're gonna go to the flash
No,
photo stories.
quite
Unbelievable.
frankly, okay. So we talk about technology that make us smart and technology that make us dumb.
Mhm.
Okay. So let me just give you something. If
Yes.
I lose my glasses,
Okay.
right, and that technology is allowing me to see. If I lose my glasses, I could no longer work. It's part
Okay.
of the human augmentation paradigm. If I stop taking some pills, maybe in 6 months I'll be dead. So we've learned in the physical world to augment our longevity and our functionality or ability to produce.
Oh
And
my
to,
God.
and
So
to
you're actually talking about glasses as human augmentation.
total human augmentation,
Got
basic.
it.
But look
Yep.
at artificial intelligence. So that's
Mhm.
what we do, right? If I give you artificial intelligence that tells you what to do,
Okay.
how smart do you think you're going to be in that field of expertise? Not at
Well,
all.
that's actually the whole concern now, that you don't
Yeah.
have to remember anything, because you can
Oh,
just search it.
I
Yeah.
can give you one full example testing kids
Mhm.
with Google and memory and all
Yeah.
that. But the point is this, right? So you're looking over here at tools that make you smart. That's what you
Okay.
have to do. If I take technology that analyzes information I cannot analyze as a human being, but what
Mhm.
I'm looking for is not the system to make the decision, but the system to give me insight so that I can apply that insight to make a
Okay.
decision. Then, as a human,
You are now smarter. You've gotten the
exactly, compared
information
to
from the
insurance.
technology. I get it. That's a
See what I
big
mean?
distinction. Yes, I do
Huge,
see what you mean.
huge.
Okay, that is a big decision. And that is a great note on which to go to our. That's so funny to start the show. Wait, was that a
Was that, woo!
technology? Was that a technology fail? Let's start over, Thierry. I understand what you're saying. Let's start over. Actually, no, let's go to
No,
the
it's not.
flash photo stories.
Oh my God. Okay.
All right. So we are going to go. So the flash photo stories is the part of the show where Thierry has sent me a
Yes.
number of photos ahead of time. I flash them on screen. You give me like a 1 to 2 sentence a story about each. And since these were both food, I put them together.
Okay, that's brilliant. So the one with the glass ones is what I do every time I'm French, right? From France. And first thing, I love seafood platters.
Well,
And I can be exhausted, tired, unshaven, dirty. The first thing I do is I go to my favorite brasserie and I have my seafood platter. So that's like I just can't escape it. The other
well,
one, it's funny. So 2 years ago, I decided to become a vegetarian, right?
mhm.
And I make an exception for Paris trips and seafood, but no meat whatsoever, which has been terrific. It's helped me. So here I am having one of my vegetarian quick lunch, and my cat is looking at me and saying, "What the hell is wrong? I can't have any of what you're having anymore."
That's funny.
That was really good. I thought it was funny.
I do love it. What about here? What's going on here?
Oh, this is a funny one. So I'm a
Ooh.
fencer. I've been fencing
Mhm.
since the age of 7, basically. And this is the most. This is interesting because I love fencing. I miss it because of COVID. We can't fence. I think the funny picture on the left is me having this arrogant French, want to slap him across the face look.
Or else you want to go, I'm so French.
I'm so French, and that's me. Like I'm looking at this, it reminds me what I looked like
Mhm.
when I was a little jerk. For everybody
Um,
looked at me and said, what an arrogant French asshole. Sorry, and that picture reminds me of that. But although the character is pretty well supported.
Although, Siri, I have to share a funny story though.
Well,
But there are practical applications for your fencing. So Thierry, one time,
yes.
so Thierry and I have known each other like for ages, and he had a party one time, and all of a sudden we hear there's
Oh
all
my
this
God.
commotion going on out on the balcony, and then my husband comes in to report that Thierry had taken his sword to open the bottle of champagne,
Yes.
but actually cut off the whole top of the
Oh, I did.
bottle.
I blasted it.
Sorry,
Totally.
but there are practical applications for fencing. I just want
Yeah,
people
and
to
the other
be
one is just
aware of
I've been a
that.
coach for 10 years at the International School
Do you
of
still do
Boston
that now?
at MIT. No, because I lived Boston and now I live in Dallas.
Oh,
But
gotcha. Okay.
that was the training. We used the MIT fencing
That's
studio,
fantastic.
and I trained a whole bunch of kids, which we won several medals. We
Oh,
started a fencing club,
congratulations.
and
Totally
we won
cool.
competition in New England. So we had a blast.
That
So that
is
was one
great.
of my fun achievement.
That's fantastic.
Well,
What's going on here?
that's South by Southwest. This is one of my
Oh.
favorite projects. Well, we
Mhm.
were nominee. We were the runner-up to the Artificial Intelligence Award.
Oh,
And the only
congratulations.
reason we didn't get it is it was not a commercial solution. We created a EEG, a brain pattern detection system, which is a whole bunch of stuff. People can Google it. Where we had a subject who had Tourette syndrome, and she was unable to communicate. So I came up with the concept of the intimate interpreter, which was her mom, who instinctively understood what she wanted because of all the years of subtle interaction.
Sure.
And I was reading the brainwave pattern so that the AI could recognize what she wanted. And then when mom was not there, somebody else could know she was hungry or upset or anything like that. So that was a big project. It made the first page
Do
of the
you
business news.
Wow.
And those are my engineers.
So 2 things so people know, I think a lot of people know South by Southwest. Is it totally it's like arts and
Arts
innovation
and
though as well?
technology and
Okay.
innovation, yes, and
All right.
absolutely.
Has anyone taken that solution to babies? Because only moms can understand what babies are saying. That is so wild.
Well,
You could totally that's like, "Look who's
no,
talking
but it's not
now."
really
You could
comfortable
totally
to put on a baby's head, and it starts to look like a
Oh.
Saturday Night Live skit putting it on your dog's head. But no,
Oh, did you try it on dogs?
no, there was actually the people made fun of it
Oh, it really was a Saturday Night
yeah,
Live
they did a
script.
skit on.
I don't know, I was like, "Wow, you're really innovative." What is your dog what was it how did you know what your cat was
No, it
saying
was
when you
to
were
help
eating the
people with
food?
brain injuries and things. Okay, so this
Wow,
is
that's fascinating.
I hired our own artists. I've got tons of paintings, and this is one of the drawing I love because it shows technology then and now. So the evolution of technology, when
Mhm.
you really think
Sure.
about it, it's just a transformation and evolution, and transportation, communication, housing,
Mhm.
even the way we dress, what we communicate. So I love that. To me, it's one what was a representation one of our artists did, and I think it's just brilliant.
That's fantastic. I love that I'm like a minute late on all of and Missy, hi, it's so nice for you to be here, but I'm a minute late on all our comments. It's always the previous slide. What's going on here?
Oh, I won the Digital Fight Club award. You go on stage and you fight against another tech leader, and
Mhm.
I won on privacy, on the basically on the internet, defending the reason why the battle was lost, and so
Wait,
that
what do you
was
mean? Which side were you on? What were you
I
defending?
was well, being French, I had to take the be the devil's advocate. So I
That
basically
privacy is not a problem on
no,
the
the
internet?
privacy is a problem,
It
but
is a
forget
problem.
about it, Charlie.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So
Although I'm like, well, of course you won. All you did was say hello. Like,
no, it was
that
fun.
feels
We had a
like a big
blast.
deal. That
We had a
sounds like
blast.
fun. Cool. All
That's the way
right.
my brain works most of
Oh
the
my
time.
God.
That's what I do when I whiteboard when I have an idea, and I've
Wow.
got tons of those. And I thought, oh yeah, that'd be kind of fun. So it's just basically, how I think about blockchain, AI, things like that, like just different crazy thoughts,
Mm.
and then sometimes products and technology come out of it.
Wow. All right, my friend, we are now ready. That is actually a very good segue to our next part of our show, which is the flash exercise. So, this is the part of the show, which actually Terry knows this. We met because I was your aerobics
You
instructor.
were, yeah.
So that's actually how we originally met back in Boston. So you will love this section. This is the interpretive aerobics section where I'm going to make myself full screen. I'm going to show you an exercise that you can do at your desk. I'll invite you to do it with me, but it's interpretive. It has to do with the theme of our show. So I'm going to let you guess why that is. So let me just do that real quick. So this exercise, it's a bicep curl. So you can do it at your desk. You can do it with or without weights. Sorry, my arms are long for the screen, but start with your elbows like an inch in front and an inch below shoulder height. And you're actually just going to come in and out. So it's a bicep curl. I like to demonstrate with weights. If you have little weights, you can just go. So it's in and out. Keep your elbows, like I said, about a half an inch below shoulder height. Shoulder to elbow is isolated, and you bring it in. Thierry, are you getting your weights? I'm gonna let's see what you got. Here we go. All right.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. I love it. The tech. So there's a high tech solution to exercise. You're doing it with those laptops.
Yeah.
All right. All right. I love it. Do you know why I picked this exercise for this for this show for you?
No, what?
Because it's like you put your fingers by your temples, come out for the bicep. It's like
Blow my
mind
mind.
blown. Whoa.
Whoa.
That's it. Or it could be like, oh my God, like you're pulling, or it could be when you're learning new tech. If you, instead of putting your fingers by your temples, if you actually hold your hair, it can be like, pulling your hair out. So either way.
You're imaginative. I love it.
Thank you. Yes, a little known genre of interpretive aerobics.
Wow.
Thierry, this was so much, absolutely positively, so much fun to have you on the show.
Oh, always a pleasure to talk with you.
Really a lot of fun. So if people want to find you or learn more, DigiMax Global, which is a publicly traded, that was a big deal. So that was through Darwin. They acquired you to, and
they acquired the IP.
company.
Yeah, they acquired intellectual property during COVID. We were having a hard time.
Cool.
And then these guys said, we're really into artificial intelligence, things like this. And they showed an interest. And so I ended up moving from CEO of Darwin to becoming CTO of this public company. It's a small company, but it has potential. And my goal is to make this an outstanding
Well, I
company
was
with
just going
our
to say,
technology.
especially with you at the forefront.
Oh,
So
thank you.
thank you so much. Absolutely delighted to have you here. Thank you, everyone, to join live or for those who watch later. And have a wonderful week. And thank you so much for joining us on Intercultural Spark.